I saw a story written by a friend of mine, Curtis Bunn, about a man that has these super antibodies. And I was like, what? Let me reach out. And so I don't know if he's the living version of Henrietta Lacks, but we're going to find out how this man got COVID, but somehow in his body, he could fight it. And I think it's fascinating. Let me welcome Mr. John Hollis, also a sports writer extraordinaire. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
Karen, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Great show. Got a lot of friends of mine who are big fans, so I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
All right. So the story goes, you contracted COVID, and tell us about your experience with the virus.
Yeah, basically, I woke up on the last week of March of 2020. On Monday mornings, woke up heavily congested. Had no other symptoms, no headaches, no fever, nothing, just heavily congested. So I was blowing my nose like 10 times a day, but felt fine otherwise, kept working the entire week. And that was back when, pollen was everywhere, but flowers were blooming. There was never even a thought that I had COVID. I mean, I just thought it was simple allergies with all the pollen being everywhere. There was never a thought that I had COVID at all. So like I said, woke up on Monday morning, heavily congested. By Friday at lunchtime, it was completely gone. So I never gave it any more thought. I just assumed it was just, I loaded up on Benadryl for a little bit. Just assumed it was just allergies. It was gone for 4 days. Never gave it a thought. It wasn't until the next week when the guy I lived with, a former newspaper colleague of mine, got terribly sick with COVID. That's when it became real for me. That's when I thought I was going to get COVID from him. And I probably gave it to him, actually.
So fast forward, how do you find out that you have these super antibodies that kills COVID the way no vaccine or any other treatment has?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm the communications manager at George Mason University. And once the pandemic started, like so many scientists around the world, our scientists here at George Mason quickly pivoted from their cancer research to COVID-19 antibody research. I was in charge of all the media outreach, helped write the press release for their antibody studies, began in April of 2020. But again, I never thought I'd ever been sick. So there was never even a thought, even though I was talking to these doctors every day, there was never even a thought to take part in this study. It wasn't until mid to late July of 2020, they were almost finished their studies. And I was with the lead doctor in his office. I was about to leave, and just casually mentioned to him that the guy I lived with had COVID, terribly, it almost killed him, but I had gotten lucky to have avoided it. And that's opened the door for me to be an 11th hour addition to their research.
Okay. And so, again, we're talking with John Hollis. You can follow him at JD Hollis 123 on the Twitters. So you entered this study, and when did they discover your body's super fighting abilities?
Sure. Well, first of all, in the end of the study, I just figured it'd be cool to be able to say I took part in this kind of medical study during a global pandemic. Again, never expected for 1 second anything to ever come of these lab results. So when the lead doctor himself called me after hours, I think it was 2 days later, I was dumbfounded. My jaw was on the floor with complete and utter shock. He told me not only did I have had COVID-19 earlier, a few months earlier, but that I had these super antibodies that made me immune, both of which were huge revelations to me. As you can imagine, I mean, you get a lot of crazy phone calls as a journalist in your entire career, but that one ranks as the craziest one I've ever gotten. I was actually dumbfounded. I don't even know what I said of any consequence after he told me. It was so beyond the pale.
So, John, am I correct that you have neutralizing antibodies in your system?
Correct. Right now, I'm immune. My blood kills every strain of the virus, including the Delta variant.
Wait, hold on. Where do you hold on, Tanya?
Maybe we need to get married or something.
I'm like,
we need to share the biome.
Yeah. Come on. I'm gonna bite you. All right. So I'm sure we gotta pray for this man and protect him at all costs, because I see people trying to swoop in. What does that mean that you are immune to every variant right now?
For whatever reason, and of course, my first question was, did I always have these antibodies in my body? Were they always there? The scientists have been adamant that no, your body creates these antibodies in response to the virus being in your body. So, of course, that's the $1 million question, how and why my body was able to do it. And so that's what they're trying to study, try to figure out. But basically what it means is my blood is so powerful, it not only prevents the COVID from infecting my cells, but it actually destroys it. I mean, literally, my blood is so powerful right now, you can dilute it 10,000 times, and it still kills 90% of the virus.
So I got questions. When did they discover this?
I guess it was confirmed, everything after a whole bunch of tests, it was confirmed probably last August of 2020.
Okay, so I've been talking to some people at some labs, and one of the things, it was before then, that we hadn't found a neutralizing antibody. So, and the neutralizing antibody is what makes a vaccine super effective. So
Exactly.
is somebody doing research with making a vaccine with your antibodies? Because that
I'm working with scientists as we speak. I haven't been drawn in a few months, like maybe 3 months maybe, but I am working with people, and we are working towards that.
And where are you? Because maybe we need to eat a dinner together and share some human biome. Because when you share space with people, you do get the biome. Are you in DC?
I guess so. I'm good.
I'm coming to DC. I got to break bread with you and get some that good energy.
Oh, at the beginning of COVID. At the beginning of COVID, Black people were saying we couldn't get it because we're African and the sun and vitamin D is all of these reasons why. And then we became like the largest group of people getting COVID and unfortunately dying from it because many of us are frontline workers and, working in hospitals and things like that. But biology is a damnable thing. And when I think about your story, I think about Henrietta Lacks, genes that cells that they're using to this day to experiment, but they, billions and billions of dollars have been made off of her cells. How are you protecting not just your blood, but they're gonna, have some money attached. The commodification of your blood.
I'm not Henrietta Lacks, and I'm not going to let anybody treat me like Henrietta Lacks. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. You have lawyers.
I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what's at stake, and I know what the implications are too. You want to do what's right, but you also want to be treated fairly. I've always insisted the two are not mutually exclusive.
So, John Hollis, how's your life changed? Like, do you not worry about wearing a mask because you can't catch it, you can't give it, you can't.
Like we talked about, Karen, I've been a former sports writer, so there's always a sports analogy. I've always kind of likened it like having a no hitter going to the ninth inning. You don't change what you've been doing the first 8 innings. So I still don't tempt fate. Still do take all the precautions I need to. But you can go get your haircut with a little less swag, with a little more swag in your step. Go to the grocery store, a little more swag in your step. There may be a million things that can still get me out there, but apparently COVID-19 is not going to be one of them.
Do you have family? Do they have this same thing?
We're going to get them tested. We want to, try to take care of some things. Make sure the protection's in place before we do that. But especially my son. My son Davis is 16 years old, and like me, I never got sick growing up. But I think I had chicken pox in first grade. Other than that, I was never in the bed sick growing up. So I always knew I had a strong immune system. My son has a strong immune system as well, but he has not been tested yet.
Wow. What are the implications? I mean, this is so fascinating, John Hollis. What kind of feedback are you getting from the science community, from the people in your life as well? Like, what are they saying?
Everybody's just amazed. I mean, I had one scientist in Australia. I've talked to scientists all over the world. One scientist in Australia called me an immunological unicorn. So I make some great business card opportunities, I bet, though. But but everybody's just fascinated, want to know how you do it. Like there's any like any one answer I could give you. I have no idea. I mean, it just kind of happened, and people fascinated, want to know how you can if they have it. Of course, people I haven't talked to in 20, 30 years call me up too,
I'm ready to marry you.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, but I've gotten over 6,000 messages from around the world since the story first aired. And it was one marriage proposal, so from a woman in Spain, back to pass.
What was wrong with her, John? So she was your
type?
type?
Pretty sure the woman in the picture, the woman that sent the email weren't one and the same. So yes.
Okay. Don't catfish him. Do not catfish John Hollis.
You're so calm about this. This is like this is unicorn stuff. Last August, it's next August. It's been a year. You ain't been tested. Like, how can you be so casual?
I am now, but the first few months, it was totally different. I mean, it took me 3-4 months to really, I was thinking about nonstop, laying on the couch, watching a movie, going for a run. All you could think about was this and what it could mean. After a few months, I finally come to grips with a little bit more now. So yeah, I can make jokes with it about it now. Like, quite honestly, I kind of need to do it to keep the sanity.
I mean, because you literally like a superhero. Like you're like this is the stuff of Marvel and Disney. Like this is not normal, right? Like
It's not.
how many people have these special antibodies?
Scientists have told me that basically 5% of the world has super antibodies. Less than 1% have antibodies that are as effective as killing COVID as mine.
And
Less
they
than
said
1%.
7 people they found so far. 7
Right,
people
and
they
even
found.
those are that's estimated 1%, less than 1%. And those most of those probably walk around and don't know they had it. I mean, it was like the perfect storm for things coming to fall into place for me to find out that I had it. You know,
It's
and
like
so
Spider-Man. You had to get bit by the spider in
right.
order for something to go. Oh my
Right.
goodness, this is amazing.
And
What else?
The crazy part, Karen, is like going back when Dr. Leota first called me and told me all these, just dropped this bombshell and changed my life. My first thought was about my son, because in early March, he and I had gone to Europe. We had gone to London and Paris, returned on Sunday, March 9th, like at 9 o'clock or something. I don't know if you remember, but the US government closed the airports on Tuesday morning, 11 a.m., March 11th. So we just barely made it back from Europe in time. So of course, as a parent, your first concern is, oh my God, did I get infected in Europe? And if I did my son get infected? Within days, they were able to break down my blood to molecular level, confirm to me that I had an American strain of the virus, not a European strain. So I was definitely infected after I returned to the United States. So it was actually a relief to me of sorts, because I knew my son hadn't been infected with me. But that's how crazy it is. They were able to tell me where and how my antibodies attacked and killed the virus.
Has anyone else in your family gotten COVID?
My younger brother did.
And is he okay?
He's fine. He made it through, but he had a rough go of it though.
But no
But
super antibodies.
He was a heavier set guy, and he grew up with asthma too, so he was like a prime candidate for the virus.
But has he been tested for these antibodies?
He does not have them. No, he does not have them.
Okay, so it's not in your gene pool. It's something.
Well, the scientists have confirmed to me that it's more than just DNA. It's also your environment too. So it's like they're both equally as important. So what that means for me, I don't know. Lived in a lot of different places. You've been a sports writer. You've lived in a lot. I've lived in Atlanta. I was in Gainesville, Florida. I've lived in Virginia. Traveled a lot. So I'm not really sure what the environment does, but apparently it does play a big factor as well.
John Hollis, biggest change in your life since you found out you're Superman?
Geez, just people here calling for me all over the creation. Just want your time, all the media interviews. I mean, it's been a lot. It's been overwhelming at times too. And people ask you how you feel, and I don't know if you remember, Karen, you may have known Sekou Smith.
Of course, God rest his soul. Yes,
Sekou's a close friend of mine too from the AJC. And so, of course, he's an NBA reporter who died from COVID in late January. I didn't even know he'd been sick. And so when somebody from the AJC called me in late January and said, Sekou just died, it just killed me. And the idea of just possibly sitting on something in your blood that possibly could have saved his life, I mean, just absolutely killed me. Absolutely killed me. If I had known, I mean, it's never been done, but the doctors have told me it's possible. I could just go and hook my arm up and just, infuse blood into somebody. It could save them. You can't, my blood, they said to me, my blood cannot erase damage already done. They could stop any further damage. And if I had known that, I would have driven to Atlanta in a heartbeat.
Ooh, I was just thinking as you're talking, it couldn't happen to a better person from all that I know about you. Because, in the wrong hands, we already know how this could play out. I think you're the perfect person to have this power.
Thank you.
Because I know that it's going to be dealt with properly.
I've always told my son that we all have a role to play in this world, to make the world a better place. I just never in a million years could have might have imagined that this might be the role I might play. But kind of crazy.
With the son? Has he been getting some extra play?
And he's 6 years old. He wants to have a press conference, for goodness sakes.
Look at Tanya.
No press conferences.
Oh man, the humility, the humanity. This is what goodness looks like, and I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more good people like you popping up with these antibodies, because we need something. And as we watch folk fighting over not wearing a mask to school, and people, children in hospitals all throughout these states where governors won't enforce some sort of restrictions on people's movements. I feel very sad right now to be a human being watching what's going on. I don't know how you feel about it, John.
Sheer stupidity is costing people their lives. Absolutely needless, and just makes no sense.
Well, John, if it turns out that your son has the antibodies and that you can pass it on genetically, you may have to see the next race of human beings.
And I would second that.